Before we get started, I make videos like this every week, so make sure to subscribe and like this video so that YouTube shows it to more people. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So here we are in the back end of our WordPress website. If you go to plugins, you want to make sure you have Elementor installed in your plugins. For this video, I'm going to be showing Elementor, the free version. If you have the pro version, you're going to have a lot more settings and a lot more elements that you can work with. But I know not everyone can have the pro version. So for this one, I'm going to be showing the free version. You can do all the same things in the pro version that you're going to see here in the free version, plus some more extra stuff. So the first thing you want to do after you already have the plugin, you want to make sure that your website is set up to be as compatible with Elementor as possible so that everything you do in Elementor can look good. So you want to have a theme that works well with Elementor. You can do that by going to Appearance and then going to Themes. And by default, WordPress comes with the 2021 theme, or it might be 2022 if you're watching this next year, but it comes with their default theme. Now, this theme does not work that great with Elementor. If you're using Elementor Pro, you can use Elementor's own theme. It's called the Hello theme, and let me show you. It's this one right here, the Hello theme. But if you're using the free version, the Hello theme is very, very basic because you have to build everything with Elementor. The header, the footer, the blog, all that stuff is done with Elementor. If you don't have the pro version, you can use the Astra theme, which is this one. Astra, this theme works really well with Elementor, and it also has, headers, footers, and blog layouts that are compatible with the free version of Elementor. So that's the one we're going to use. We're going to go ahead and click Install and Activate. If you're already using a different theme on your website, all you have to do is go to Google and just do some research and check that if your theme works well with Elementor. The next thing you want to do is when we create new pages with this theme in Elementor, you want to make sure the page settings are set up properly so that the pages display well with Elementor. So that means you don't want to have like a sidebar, or you don't want the page to be like crunched. You want pages to be full width so that you can design the entire page. So to do that, we're going to go to Pages, and I'm going to show you the appropriate settings to use in Astra or in any other theme that you're using. So let's create a home page here. All right, so let's just call it Home. And now what you want to do with whatever theme you're using, in the settings for the page, you want to make sure that you have full width stretched so that you're using the entire section of the page. And for the sidebar, you don't want to have any kind of sidebar because you want to be able to design the entire page. You don't want to have the theme plugging in anything that you don't want to be there. So we're going to go ahead and click Publish. So now we've created our first page with the appropriate settings so that we can start creating a design with Elementor. To do that, we're just going to click up here where it says Edit with Elementor, and that's going to bring up the page editor. So let's talk a little bit about what we're actually seeing here in front of us. So right now we have our page here on the right and the Elementor toolbar here on the left. All of these are different elements that we can add onto our web page. This plus sign will allow us to add different sections and rows and columns to our web page. This folder allows us to add pre-made templates or save templates from designs that we make. Right here we have the website's header. This part right here is not being controlled by Elementor. This is coming from your theme. Unless you have Elementor Pro, that will allow you to edit this header section. Right now it's just showing the logo that I have set up, and here normally there would be a menu, but since I haven't created any pages yet, there's no menu here. Here we have the website footer. This is also coming from the theme. We can edit it in the theme, or if you have Elementor Pro, you can edit it with Elementor Pro. Here we have a little ad from Elementor asking us if we want to use Elementor Pro. You can click X right there just to close it. On the left hand side here we have Elementor. We have a lot of options. We have a settings tool. If we click here, we're going to see some options. The page title, we can add a featured image here, the status that it's published. If you have a theme that even though you are setting up a blank page, it shows the title right here on top of the design, you can click where it says hide title to make sure that title doesn't show if your theme is forcing a title to show. Also, if your theme in the page settings where I showed to make the page full width, your theme doesn't have that, here where it says page layout, you can choose full width here. So just in case your theme doesn't have that, you can choose it there. So once you do that, you'll see that you get this green update button when you click that update button, it saves the changes that you've made. A few other options we have here. We have this little preview button. So once you make a design, if you want to see how it's going to look on your actual website, you can click that icon right there. It's going to open up a new tab with the preview. Right now we haven't done anything, so it's just empty. We also have this little desktop option here that says responsive mode. If you click that, you can see how your website looks on desktop, on tablet. You see it shrinks it down here to a tablet, or mobile, it shrinks it down to a phone. So this will let you edit your design for each one of those devices, and any settings or changes that you make in these tabs will not affect what you do in the other ones. So let's say you set up a specific section or a specific thing to be a certain size for desktop, and then you make it smaller in mobile. The fact that you made it smaller in mobile will not affect the desktop version. So that's a really good way to separate, have different versions of your same design. Another really great thing you have here is this history option. And what this does is it keeps track of all the different changes that you've made. So right now I changed the layout. I made it full width here in the settings, and I made the title hidden here in the settings, and the first one is that I started editing. So if you make a mistake, you actually have all your steps here, and you can click to go back in time and undo any of your mistakes. It saves all your steps, so that's really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in desktop mode so that we can start working on the design. So to get back to all your elements, you're going to click right here on this little square right here. It's going to bring you back here to all the different elements that we can add. So now we can go ahead and create the first section of our web page. To do that, we're going to click here where it says plus, and it's going to ask us to select a structure. This is basically asking how many columns do you want your page, your first section to have. You can just have one column, 2, 3, but it really doesn't matter what you pick, because even if I pick the one column option, I can add another column in there later. So here, this is a section. You see here this little gray bar. Well, let me show you a different example. If I click plus and then I choose 2, you see that this one has one long row, and this one has a long row, but it's divided into 2 columns. So these are the different columns. That's how the website is structured. If you wanted to add a column to any existing row, you can do that. You can actually just right click and click add a new column, and that will actually just create a new column. And you can do that as many times as you want. So now it has 3, this one has 2, you can add columns in there. And columns are just a way for you to divide content. So you can click the X to delete anything you add as well. So let's just add in 1 row. All right, so this is going to be the first section of our website, and I'm thinking that we should have, maybe a nice image here with a title and a button. So how do we do that? So the first thing we want to do is click here to select this row. And here on the side, we have a couple of options. So we have the content width, which is boxed. That pretty much is how wide you want it to be. The page is already full width, so we can actually leave the content boxed. What that does is if somebody has a really wide monitor, it keeps the content kind of around the middle. It doesn't stretch, the content all the way to, the words and stuff all the way to the edges of the screen where it might be uncomfortable to read. We have column gap, and we have height. So the height is what we want to tweak. You can see that right now it's pretty small. We kind of want it to be a bigger chunk of the website. So for height, we can choose fit to screen, which will make it the entire size of the screen all the way down, but that might be a little bit too big. So I like to put minimum height. And what that does, it lets you decide what is the minimum height that you want it to be, like a minimum height to show. You can do it by pixels, VH, or VW. So what I like to do is click VH, and this is actually a percentage of the screen. So the reason I like to use this one is because it will look the same on all screens. If you do pixels, somebody with a really high resolution screen, 400 pixels might actually be a very small amount of the screen. But if I do, for example, VH, which is by percent, and I do 50%, it'll be 50% of the screen regardless of what the device is. Regardless of the resolution, it's going to take up half of the screen. So I'm going to have it here at 50%, which is a pretty good chunk. The next thing I want to do is I want to maybe add a background to this, right, to this section. So let's go to Style. And that's going to give us some background options. We have background, background overlay, borders, shape dividers, and typography. So right here under background, we have a few options. We have classic, which is going to let us either choose a color right here from the color picker. We can choose colors from right here, and we can also choose the opacity of that color. So we can pick a color from here if we wanted to have a solid color. We can also choose a gradient, which lets us pick 2 different colors, and we have some slider options here to adjust, how much space each color takes and what angle the gradient is at, like this. We also have a video option, so you can actually plug in a link from a YouTube video and have a video background, and you can have slides, so you can actually show different images. So for background type, I'm just going to go with classic, and instead of a color, you can actually choose an image. So I'm going to click choose image, and I'm going to go ahead and just pick an image from my computer. So I have this image right here from my computer. I'm going to click insert, and now you see that it inserted it in here, but it doesn't look quite right. It's kind of cut off. You can only see the top. You can't really see the picture properly. So for that, we're going to come here to the position options. You can test a couple of these to see what looks best for you. For me, almost always center works, so that looks really good. Now there's an option here called attachment. So by default, the image doesn't move. You see it's static, but you can actually put this to fixed, and it will actually slide like this. So that's a pretty cool effect that you can use on your website for any section that you want. But for now, I'm going to leave it to default. You can also have it repeat if you want it to be a pattern. And then for size, I like to put cover. That usually helps it fit a little bit better as well. So see, I put cover, and now I got a little bit more of the image. It's not so zoomed in. It looks much more close to the graphic that I chose. So we've now created our first section. This is our first section right here. We set up a background for it, and it looks really good. So the next thing we can do is add elements into this section to start making our website. So one of the elements that we can add is a title. So if we come up here to where all our elements are in this little block, we see over here we have some sections, headings, images, text editors, videos, buttons. So any of these you can actually just drag in, and boom, you have a header right there. If I go back here and I plug in an image, here it's going to pop in a really big image. We can adjust the size of that later, but you can have an image right there. If you want a button, you can drag and drop it in right there. It's going to make a button for you right there. So you can add any element into your sections. The only thing you have to do is style it so that it actually looks normal. So we can actually go ahead and delete these things by right-clicking on them and clicking delete. And we're going to delete the button, and we're going to delete the heading. So now we're going to add in the elements, but let's actually try to make them look, good. So we're going to start by having our heading, right, our text that we want. You can see that it's a little bit hard to read in this color, so how do we change the color of this heading? First, we can actually make our heading, whatever we want. So let's just type in, whatever you want your title to be. So I'm going to write explore. Now I want this to be centered, so we can click right here to center it, and it's going to be right here in the middle. Now I also want to change the color of this, so all the color options are going to be here under style. This is the same for every element. So text color, let's make the text white so that it stands out. And typography, we can click here to choose the font. So right now it's Roboto. There's a lot of different ones that we can choose from. You can find one that you like. So let's see this one. Let's see. This one looks cool. You can choose the size of it, bigger or smaller right here. You can adjust the font size and the thickness of it. Some fonts have more thicknesses than others, so this font doesn't really have a lot of thickness options. But if I choose a different one, like this one, you can see that it has different thickness options. It can be really thin or it can be really thick, just like that. So we can choose a size that works for us, maybe like this. And you can add a shadow to the text as well if you want to make it stand out a little bit more. I personally don't like adding shadows that much. It's kind of a dated design feature, so you can click undo here to undo that. But you can see that even though I changed the color, it's still a little bit hard to read. Another thing we can do is this background here that we added for this section, we can actually make it a little bit darker. So to do that, we can go here to the section, and under background overlay, we can click there and actually add it. We can add the color black. And we can see that it adds an overlay, and it's 50% black. This is where you control the opacity. You can make it darker or lighter. So I like to add a little bit of overlay just to make the text pop. So maybe 25, that looks great. And it's easy to read. So the next thing you want to do is maybe add a subheading to this, or a little quote. So to do that, we're going to come here to the options, and we're going to drag in a text, and we can see that we have to adjust the settings the same for this one. So we're going to go to style, we're going to make it centered, we're going to make the text color white so that it's easy to read, and we're going to make it maybe a little bit bigger, maybe 25. Okay, good. And the last thing maybe is we want to have a button that says, contact us or something like that. So we're going to go here to the options. We can go to the button and we can drag it in here. So this button, the same, we can center it. We can change what the button says right here under the content. Just like that. We can put where it links us to. So you can here plug in a different page. So once you have your contact page, you can plug in the link to your contact page, or you can link it to any other website. So let's say I do, youtube.com, and that will link to youtube.com when somebody clicks on it. If you want to change how the button looks, you can go here to style, and you have the same typography options for the font size of the text that you want to have on there. And you have options for the background color of that button. It can be whatever color you want. You have options for the text color. You can do that in whatever color you want as well. Just like this. And then if you have here a hover, you can choose when somebody hovers over it, what colors does it switch to. So maybe when somebody hovers over it, it switches colors. So maybe it will be purple and white, the opposite. So if I go like this, now you see that those colors switch. You can also set up a hover animation, like pulse. And that way when somebody hovers over it, they get a little animation. It calls more attention to the button. You can see that now we have this first section done, but it's kind of cramped. So we can come to our section options here again, go back to our layout, and here where it says minimum height, we might have to increase that a little bit, maybe 70 there, so it's not so cramped. You can also have things moved over. So for example, let's say you want to have a video on your website, you can actually just come right here and click add a new column. And now we have a whole nother column right here. And we can actually drag and drop in, different things in there. So for example, if I want to have a video next to my text, I can drag and drop in a video, and now I have the video right here. And I can come here to everything that I plugged in here, and we can, align it to the left so that it looks a little bit better. Just like that. Maybe make this font a little bit smaller. Like this. And now we have our first, section. We can delete this video as well. Maybe you just want to have it on the left so that, your background is easier to see, or you want to, showcase any kind of image or any other content here, you can. So you've created your first section. You can click update, and you can click preview. And here we have it. Here's the first section of our website. Another thing you can do to make it a little bit easier as you practice making sections, you can also click this folder to see pre-made sections to make your life a little bit easier. So if I click here where it has the templates, so it has full page templates. These are entire pages. Some of them require the pro version, those say pro, but a lot of them are free. So for example, this is a free one. And if I click insert and I click yes, it will insert the entire template into my web page right under the section that I made. So you see here how the section that I made, that doesn't get damaged, but it also adds the template in, and I can actually edit this template by clicking any section like this. So here I can change the text, I can go to style, change the color of the words, change the typography as well, everything, the same things that we did. We can move things around in the template, so if I want it to be on this side, I can do that. We can also delete things from the template. So I can actually, let's say you have a template, but you don't want it to have, this button. Or for example, let's say that in the template, you don't, let's say you don't need this section with the pricing, right? You can just press X to delete a section, or you can just, right click on an element to delete that element. So you can save a template and then just remove the stuff that, you don't really need and keep the stuff that you do. So I could, for example, X out of here. And maybe just, delete this and delete this. And maybe I just want to have, from the whole template, I just want to have these two icons, right? Maybe that's all I need. So I can actually get a template, delete the things that I don't need, click update. And now if I come here and check my website, I have the first section, and then I have the second section from the template that I set up. There's also more template options if I come here to the folder. So these are the full pages. But if you go to blocks, you can actually get just like a chunk, just a section, not a whole page. So here under category, there's, an about block, call to action, clients, contact, FAQ, features. So if I click about, here are some blocks that are for about us. And for example, this one looks pretty good. We can click insert right here. And this will add a block. This is about the company. And you can edit this block just the same. So for example, I could come here and change, for this section, change the style of the background like we did for our first section. And maybe add a color, like a light gray. Then we can change the color of this text so that it's easier to read, to black, for example. And, of course, you can come in here and edit what the text is itself, and you can also click this title and edit what the title is and change the color and the font of the title. This image you could replace with your own image. So, for example, let's say I want to add this one here, right here, and there I am. And let's change this color to something else. Maybe we can do like a much lighter gray, like this. And then I click update. So now I have a home page with 3 different sections, you'll see. So here we have the section that we custom made, this template section, and this block section that we added. This is 3 different ways you can add content to your website. So once you've done that and you've clicked update and you've previewed it, you've made your first web page. You can keep adding sections from the templates, or you can make custom sections. So once you've finished making, all your sections and all your pages, really the last step is just to come here where it says responsive mode, click mobile, and just make sure that it looks good on mobile. So maybe this Explorer is too big on mobile, so I can come here, click on the Explorer, go to style, here in typography, edit, and you see now here has a little phone icon, which means that if I make the font a little bit smaller, it's only making the font smaller for the mobile version. It's not making it smaller for the whole website. So I can make it smaller, and maybe I can put it in the middle for the mobile version. Maybe this text, I also want it to be centered. And this button, I also want it to be centered. Just because on the phone, it looks nicer if they're all in the middle, and I can click update. And it will save this layout only for the mobile version. And if I click back to desktop, everything will go back to normal. So that is how you set up your pages and how you set up the basic options for all the different kinds of elements in Elementor. I hope this video helped you. I hope you have a better understanding of how to set up a page with Elementor. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me in the comments. I make videos like this every week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and thank you very much. Have a great day.